Hey guys, and welcome to another Logic Pro X tutorial. And in this one we're going to look at recording into these live loop cells in Logic. Okay. For all the other live loop tutorials, look in the description below where you'll see the playlist, and search our channel for Logic. You'll find hundreds of Logic videos. Okay, so recording into these live loop cells. Okay, here I have a vertical scene. There's a 4-bar drum loop in it. There's a 2-bar bass loop, and the two of them together sound like this. Hit stop. Now, you're going to need to reset the scene a lot before you record. To reset, you can either bring your mouse all the way down here to the bottom right, to that little white square. Why Apple put it down there, I have no idea. Click that, boom, and it resets. But to be honest, I find it easier to reset like this, just to go to the stop button and just go bub bub bub. 3 fast clicks and it's reset. Okay, you'll see me doing that a lot through the tutorial. Okay, so there's the drum beat, 4 bars, and the bass loop 2 bars in their cells, and here's a basic polysynth. Now let's record into this cell for this MIDI instrument. Now I'm going to bring in the piano edit down here because you should see the notes appear as I record them, unless Logic decides to manifest one of its many graphic bugs. It's riddled with graphic bugs, this program. At least on my Mac it is. Right, so we're going to record into this MIDI cell. Basic polysynth. Now there's the cell. Here's the cell parameter box, and you can see, even though there's nothing recorded into the cell and it's empty, it has a default length of 4 bars, cell length 4 bars. Okay, you can change that to anything you want, but that's the default. And then look at the recording settings. We're recording into the rec length of auto bars, automatic bars. Now you can record in automatic mode, bars or beats, which means that you put the cell into record and you can record for as long as you like. 1 bar, 2 bars, 4, 8, 16, 32 bars, as long as you like, until you hit stop. If you're in automatic bars, when you hit stop, the region recorded into the cell will end on the nearest bar to where you hit stop. But if you're in automatic beats, you can record for as long as you like, and when you hit stop, the region that gets recorded into the cell ends on the nearest beat to where you hit stop. So it's usually best to work in automatic bars. Then everything in your cells is either 1, 2, 4, 8 or whatever fixed bar lengths, and everything stays in sync when it cycles around. Okay, so we're going to record in automatic bars, right? And to get the red record button to appear in the MIDI cell, you've got to have record enabled there. Okay, we're going to record in automatic mode, which means I can record into this cell as long as I like until I hit stop. And obviously automatic, where you can record for as long as you like, is the best mode to go for if you're recording in a long evolving lead or something while everything else cycles round. But it's also good to record over as long as you like. Just keep recording, trying ideas until you get the idea you want, and then you can trim up what's inside the cell, which I'll show you. So I'm going to put it into record and just work on a pattern until I get it right, and then I'll show you trimming it up at the end. So we reset, cue the scene, boom, select the cell, make sure it's still in auto bars, hit record, and everything else will play along with it. And hopefully, as I said, you'll see the notes appear here as I record, unless Logic decides to do a graphic bug. Here we go. Boom, hit stop. And the end resolves to the nearest bar to where it hit stop, the end of bar 16. Now I played over and over and over and over until I arrived at a pattern I liked in the last 4 bars here. There is the MIDI that I recorded into this cell, 16 bars of it, and this is the actual MIDI here, and you can grab that MIDI region, drag it around inside the cell, and the cell length there defaults to the length of the recording, right? So I can trim this piece of MIDI inside the cell if I want. I could isolate bar 5 to bar 9, just those 4 bars. Then I could move this around to play anywhere inside the length of the cell and make the cell any length I want. Okay, so I could do that. But what I want to do is I want to get the last 4 bars. That's where I got it right. So I trim off the start, isolate those final 4 bars, drag that trimmed 4-bar MIDI region to the start of the cell, and then I can either drag my end loop marker to match and my end cell marker to match like that, or instead of dragging that end cell and loop marker, I can select the cell. I can select the cell and go up here and type in the cell length I want. So I've trimmed these 4 bars from the end of the 16-bar recording, dragged it to the front, 4 bars of MIDI at the start of the cell. I want the cell to end at the end of these 4 bars. So I want my cell to be 4 bars as well. So I select that, and here where it says cell length, I double click, and type in 4. Now I've got a 4-bar long cell and loop length with my trimmed 4-bar edited bit of MIDI region playing in those 4 bars. Easy peasy, right? Select all the notes, quantize, there we have it. Right? Easy peasy, right? Okay, that's automatic recording, where you can record as long as you like, and you can either keep the resulting long recording if it's a long lead thing or a long chord sequence or something, or you can use it to get ideas together, trim the resulting MIDI inside the cell, move it to where you want, set the cell to be the length you want, etc, etc. Okay, but we can record into a fixed cell length. Select the cell and switch this rec length to cell length. Now we're recording into a fixed cell length as defined by the cell length here. So you can record into a 2-bar long cell length or a 4-bar long cell length. You just double click and type in the length you want for the cell, or an 8-bar cell length, whatever you want. So actually I'm going to keep it at the default 4 bars. Right? Okay, we're going to record into a fixed cell length of 4 bars. Right? And at the end of the recording, it's going to switch to play. That's the default. That means that I'm going to record into this fixed cell length. I get 1 take to record. When it gets to the end of the cell length, it cycles back to the start, drops out of record, and plays back what I recorded. Okay, so reset, cue the scene, select the cell, make sure it's still in cell length, and play at the end of record. Here we go. And it records through the cell length once, gets to the end, drops out, records, cycles back and starts playing back what I recorded. Right, easy peasy. Okay, quantize, there's my pattern. Boom, boom. Okay, we can do that. Let's get rid of that. Boom, 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 reset. Okay, or we can record into a fixed cell length but continue to record. Now, if we choose that, so we're not at the end of that cell length, we're not switching to play mode, we're continuing to record. Now that means that I put the cell into record. I'm recording into a fixed cell length. In this case, I'm going to stick with 4 bars. When it gets to the end of the cell, it cycles back and stays in recording. It just goes round and round and round and round, recording and recording as long as I like, while everything else plays along. And as it cycles around recording, I can merge in additional notes into the pattern. Any time as it cycles around, if I play additional notes, they get merged into the pattern. Okay, let's do that. So reset, cue the scene, select the cell, make sure it's still in cell length, continuous record and merge. Here we go. the cell is still in record, but it's playing back the notes that I recorded with the first pass. And it's still in record. Any additional notes I play will get merged in with that pattern. Just keep going like that, dropping in additional notes, merging in additional notes, cycling around as long as you want. It'll just stay and record until you've finished, hit stop, and the resulting pattern holds all the notes that you dropped in with each cycle of record. If you don't want to record on a cycle, just don't and think of a new idea. It'll just keep going around. Every time you drop in notes, they get added. Okay, and then get all the notes, quantize, boom, there it is. That's cycle merge recording. Okay, or we can do, again, recording into a fixed cell length, which I'm going to stick with 4 bars. It could be anything, any length you want. We're going to record into a fixed cell length. We're going to continuous record. It'll go round and round and round recording. And instead of merging, I'm going to replace. Now in replace mode, when it cycles through a record cycle, anything I play gets recorded. Then it gets to the end of the cell, cycles back to the start, stays in record and records through again. Now the previous cycle where I recorded, the notes stay there. You don't hear them, but they stay there in the pattern. And no matter how many times it cycles round recording, those notes recorded in a previous take, a previous cycle, don't get deleted unless you record something else when a new cycle goes round. And then the new thing you recorded deletes the previous thing that was there, and that is then the pattern that's in there. So in this continuous cycle record, where we're recording over a cell length in continuous record, in replace, you choose replace where you want to cycle round recording, doing a take with each cycle, and when you get it right you hit stop, and that's the one that will be in the pattern. Okay, so reset, cue the scene, check the cell is still on cell length, continuous record and replace mode. Here we go. You see? Now the notes are there from the last thing I recorded. They stay there. We don't hear them, but they're there. And if I hit stop now, that will be the pattern in the cell. Unless I record something over the top, in which case those notes are deleted. Boom. And that last pattern I recorded will end up in the pattern. So with replace mode, when you cycle around recording, you use that when you want to do a take over and over until you get it right, then you hit stop, and the last take you did that was right is the one that's in there. And just quick quantize, and there's my pattern. Okay, that's that mode. And then finally we can record around a fixed cell length in continuous record, but instead of using merge or replace, we can create MIDi takes. All right, so reset, cue the scene, select the cell, make sure it's still in cell length recording, continuous record, and we're going to create MIDi takes. Right, okay, and what happens now is every time it cycles around recording and I play something different, it creates a take for it. Here we go. did 4 takes there. And I end up, we click on that little number there, there's the takes. Take number 1, the first thing I recorded with the first cycle. That's take number 1. Take number 2, the second cycle of recording. It's take number 2. Take number 3, the third cycle of recording. And take number 4, the final and fourth cycle of recording that I did. Etc. Right, so there you go. Now we have 4 takes. And I can choose which take I want to play in the cell. Take number 1, take number 2, take number 3, or take number 4, and that's the one that will play from the cell. The others are still there, and I can switch any time to one of them. But I choose the one I want, that's the take that will play in the cell. Now if I select, for example, take number 1, that's now the selected take that's going to play in the cell. And that selected and ticked take can be copied or moved to any of these destinations. The destinations are the same for either copying the selected take or moving the selected take. Right? So I can copy or move the selected take to a new scene, a new empty cells to the right, a new track, or a new matching empty cell below. Now a new scene just means if the thing's in the next scene, if I copy or move the selected take, it will create a new vertical scene and stick it in the next cell and move everything, all the other scenes across to the right. If I choose next empty cell to the right, it will go along and find an empty cell on the same track and dump it in there. Or if I choose new track, it will take the selected take and stick it on a new track below in a cell and put the same instrument on. And if I choose next matching empty cell below, it looks below for a track with the same instrument on, and if it can't find it, it creates a new track with the same instrument on. Now I can take the selected take and copy or move it to any of those destinations. Or I can unpack all of the takes that I recorded to the same destinations. Okay, that's MIDi takes. Alrighty, easy peasy, yeah? So I'll stick with that take, I think. Let's hear it all together. There you go. That's recording into MIDi cells. Okay. Alright, let's look at recording into audio cells now. Let's make an audio track receiving on my mic input. Obviously you can record guitar or bass into cells by choosing a guitar or bass track and then using the amp modelling rigs. Okay. So I'm recording into an audio cell. Here we go. Create a new audio track. And again, we have to activate the record enable button, which also activates input monitoring. Now I haven't checked my preferences actually since I installed this new version of Logic, so it may be that the preferences are set so that enabling record automatically enables input monitoring. If you enable record and don't hear your own microphone or your own guitar, just activate the input monitoring button. Okay, let me just turn that off for a minute. But you need that on to get the record button. Okay, so we're recording audio now. There's the cell. There's the cell parameter box. We can record again in automatic bars or beats or to a fixed cell length. So let's start with automatic. I can record into this cell for as long as I like. So reset, QC. Here we go. Deep, 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 do wee wee, do wee wee, do wee wee, do wee wee, brrrr pow, brrrr bars of pure gibberish. But like with the MIDi, I can trim. Yeah, I can trim whatever I want to be the region, because there's the piece of audio, look, inside the cell, which I can move around. And I can, hey, come here, and I can trim the start and trim the end. So I've isolated there, look, I've isolated bars 5, 6, 7 and 8, which I can now move around to be anywhere I want. Right, and then I can adjust the length of my cell and everything. So that's what I recorded. Let's have a listen to it. We'll reset. Deep, 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 deep. Do wee wee, do wee wee, do wee wee, do wee wee. Okay, I actually like the bars from 9 to 13. So I trim the region inside the cell to isolate those 4 bars. There they are. Now I can bring that to the start of my cell if I want it to play from the start, and then adjust my cell length to be the same. And now I've got 4 bars of the audio isolated in a 4-bar cell running a 4-bar loop. If I wanted to, I could make the cell length 8 bars and the loop length 8 bars and have this piece of audio play maybe starting at bar 2 or starting at bar 3, and then I get 2 empty bars, then the audio plays, then 2 more empty bars, whatever I like. Okay, I'll bring it to the start, trim my loop the same. Remember, you can trim the loop, you know, the cell end and loop marker like that, or you can select the cell and go here and type that in. I'll type it to be 4 bars, boom. And there's my trimmed bit of audio at the start, right, occupying 4 bars, and I've made the cell the same length, right. Yeah, you can do all that, right. Okay, next, that's recording in automatic mode. But we can, of course, record into a fixed cell length, and the cell can be any length you want. 1 bar, 2 bars, 4 bars, 8 bars, 16 bars, whatever you like. I'm going to stick with 4 bars. We're going to record into a fixed cell length, and at the recording end, it's going to switch to play. The same as for MIDi, right? So reset, cue the scene, select the cell, make sure it's still in cell length, and play at the end of record. I get 1 take along the length of the cell, which is, in this case, 4 bars, and at the end, it'll go out of record and cycle back around and play back what I recorded. Easy peasy, right? That is a good mode to choose if you know what it is you're going to record and you're pretty sure you're going to get it right. But if you're not that sure you're going to get it right, then we can still stick to recording into a fixed cell length, but do continuous recording, just like we could with MIDi. But the difference is there's no merge mode when you're cycling around in continuous record. We can't merge in audio bits with the previous audio. When we're cycling round recording to a fixed cell length, we've got only 2 choices. We either do replace recording or take recording. Now in replace recording, you record through the first time the cell plays or records. It gets to the end, cycles back and stays in continuous record. Anything you recorded in the previous take, when it cycles back round and records through again, it will overwrite and delete the previous take. And if you don't sing or play anything, it will just record the sound of the mic, silence, and erase the previous take. So using cycle recording in an audio cell to a fixed cell length in replace mode is the mode that you choose when you're going for a take. You want to be able to cycle around doing the take again and again until you do one really good. Then you hit stop. That's the one that will be in the cell. Okay, so reset, cue the scene, select the cell, make sure we're still in cell lengths, continuous record, replacement mode. Here we go. Oh no, I made a mistake. Never mind. I'll let it record round again. Hit stop, and that's the one that I want, the last take. And there it is. Yeah, that's my take. Now it captured me hitting the spacebar to stop at the end. No problems. Just trim off the end of that. It's still going to play through the 4 bars. We're just trimming off that final little bit of audio there. If I wanted to, I could just do a little fade out on the end, just so it doesn't click at the end. Okay, there we go, all done. Let's hear that. Oh. Okay, that's replace record. Delete. Let's turn that off for a minute. Okay. Reset. Or we can do fixed cell length recording in continuous record, and instead of replacing we can do takes, and that will create takes the same as when we did takes for the MIDI. Okay, but with a twist, we can comp the takes with the audio. I'll show you how to do that in a sec. So reset, cue the scene, check that this audio cell is still in cell length record, 4 bars I'm going for. Continuous recording and create takes, activate record. And hit stop. And I did 4 cycles of recording, so I get 4 takes. Take number 1. Oh, take number 2. Take number 3. Or the final one, take number 4. Easy peasy, right? Same as creating takes with MIDI. And again, it's just like with the MIDI takes, you choose the take you want from all of the takes you did in the cell, and that's the one that will play back. The previous takes are all, or rather the other takes are all there. Just choose the one you want, and that's the one that will play. It doesn't get rid of these other takes, they're still there, and you can switch to those anytime you want. If you flatten, like when you flatten takes with MIDI, if you do flatten, the selected take will be the one there, all the others will be discarded. And just like with MIDI, the selected take can be copied or moved to any of those destinations, or we can unpack all of the takes to those destinations. But there's one last thing that we can do with the audio takes that we can't do with the MIDI takes, and that is comping. But we can't do the comping here in the cell area, we've got to do it in the traditional side of Logic here. So what we do is we grab this audio takes in the cell. There's no need to hold down Alt to drag off a copy, you just grab it with the left mouse, drag it across and drop it in here, and that has created a copy over here. Okay, so this is a copy of that. There's the 4 takes there, and whoop, there's the 4 takes there. But the difference is over here we can do comping. We can open out the take folder and do comping. Now if you don't know what comping is like there's 4 takes. Take number 1, take number 2, take number 3, take number 4. And across the top is the comp master. So if I choose all take 1, the comp master at the top here, this is the bit that actually plays, it's going to play all of take 1, or all of take 2, or all of take 3, or all of take 4. But what I can do is I can build a comp that will play across the top from different bits of the 4 takes. I can say, well, I want to start with the opening part of take 1, then switch to take 3 to play the next bar, then switch to take 2 to play the 3rd bit, and then end on take 4 to play the 4th bit. You can do it like that and build what's known as a comp across the top. And now this comp region across the top is going to play this, then this, then this, then this. You can see it, but there's little crossfades between them there. Okay. So we want to work on building our comp while we listen to the backing music playing from the scene. So to do that, we do a reset, cue the scene. This will now all play. But by cueing this scene, this has been muted. So what we do is we go to this cell, right click on it and DQ this cell, which means this will now play instead in sync with all this. But we need to put a cycle range around this so this cycles around with these. Okay, so we've DQ'd this cell and now we hit play up here, not at the bottom of the scene here. Here we go. And now while it cycles around, I can work on building my comp. See, I've got my comp now. So the comp across the top here is going to play first this from take 3, then this bit from take 2, then that bit from take 4, then this bit from take 1, then that bit from take 2, that bit from take 3, and finally that bit from take 1. Usually you use this comping like you'll have 4 or 5 or 6 takes of a guitar solo, each time doing little variations on the licks, and you just comp the licks together to make the overall solo you want, or the overall vocal that you want from different vocal takes. You just choose the best bit from each bit and just comp them together, right? So we run this side in sync with this side so we can work on our comp. And that's now done. Okay. Just DQ that. That's now done. So now what I do is I compact my comp. There it is. This is separate to this. Okay. So this, I move it out of the way and then bring the comp over and drop it in there. Now the comp that I created here is going to play in this cell. This one, which is the 4 separate takes, I can either discard or delete it, because I've still got the 4 takes here, but they've just been now put into this comp where different bits from different takes are playing in a certain order. And there's my comp back in the cell here, and now I can play along with the scene here. I set everything, reset. If I activate the scene now, this side will mute and only these will play here. Yeah, and that's that. But anyway, there you go. Let's turn that off. That's recording into MIDI cells and audio cells in live loops. Yeah. Hope that's useful. I did this video because somebody asked a question about it. If you want to ask questions, you can ask them in the comments below on YouTube, or you can go to our forums at www.dancetech.com. Just set up a free account and ask questions there. If somebody asks a question I think will make a good video, then I make a video showing the answer to their question. And in this case, someone asked about recording into these live loop cells. Okay, as I said, search our channel for Logic. You'll find endless Logic videos. Check the channel generally, have a browse through it. There's endless tutorials on all sorts of things to do with sound recording and music technology. Please subscribe to the channel, but just as important, any social media or forums that you use, get the word out. Get more people coming to the channel, that'd be good. The more people come here, the more videos I can make. So there you go, that's recording into the live loop cells in Logic Pro X 10.5. Check the description below for the playlist of all the live loop tutorials. And also check the channel, as I said, for Logic videos. But I've done tutorials now on the new step sequencer and the new drum machine designer and the new quick sampler, as well as lots of tutorials on these new live loops. So there's plenty of tutorials already on the new stuff from Logic 10.5. I hope that's useful, and I'll see you for the next one.